In a small valley, surrounded by thick forests and silver-topped mountains, there was a village named Lumina. The village was known for one thing: its lantern makers. For centuries, they created magical lanterns that could glow even in storms, guide travelers lost in the dark, and bring warmth to the coldest nights. Among these lantern makers lived a 16-year-old boy named Evan. Evan was unlike the others. While most villagers learned the art of lantern making easily, Evan struggled. His hands were shaky, his designs were often uneven, and his lanterns never glowed as brightly as the others. People would often whisper, "Evan is a good boy, but maybe lantern making is not his destiny." These words pierced his heart, but he never responded harshly. He simply told himself, "Maybe I am slow, but I am not stopping." Sunrise over mountains, the Festival of Lights. Every year, Lumina celebrated the Festival of Lights, where the best lantern maker received the Golden Flame Award. Winning it was considered the greatest honor in the village. For years, Evan had wanted to win, not to prove others wrong, but to prove to himself that he could do something great with his hands. One morning, the village chief announced, "This year's Festival of Lights will be the grandest ever. Travelers from far lands will attend. Prepare your brightest lanterns." Everyone cheered, except Evan, who suddenly felt a heavy weight in his chest. He had never made a perfect lantern. How could he make the best one? Still, he whispered to himself, "I will try. Even if I fail, I will try." Red paper lantern, Evan's first attempt. Evan gathered wood, glass, paint, and metal. He tried to shape the lantern frame, but it bent too easily. He heated the glass, but it cracked. He mixed colors, but they turned dull. After 2 days of hard work, his lantern collapsed in his hands. Frustrated, he sat outside his small workshop, staring at the sky. Just then, an old man approached him, Master Rowan, the greatest lantern maker in Lumina's history. Rowan smiled gently. "Why do you look defeated, Evan?" Evan sighed. "I want to make a lantern that shines, but I only make mistakes." Rowan chuckled. "Do you know why your lantern broke?" Evan shook his head. "Because you still haven't broken your fear." Evan frowned. "Fear?" "Yes," Rowan replied. "Fear of failing. Fear of what others say. Fear of not being enough. When you create with fear, your hands become weak. When you create with courage, your heart becomes strong." Rowan placed a small, old lantern in Evan's hands. It was cracked, scratched, and barely glowing. "This was my first lantern," the old man said proudly. "It was terrible, but I kept it to remind myself, perfection is not the beginning, it is the reward at the end." Evan felt something spark inside him, hope. Fire the journey of improvement. Evan didn't start again the next morning. He started that night. He worked and failed. Worked and failed. For 10 days, he made 12 broken lanterns. Some cracked, some dimmed, some fell apart. Each time he failed, people laughed softly behind him. But Rowan's words echoed in his mind. Create with courage. Slowly, Evan's hands grew steadier. His shapes grew sharper. His glass grew clearer. His patterns became more beautiful. On the 15th day, he finally completed a lantern. It wasn't perfect. Some lines were crooked, and the glow was soft. But it was the strongest lantern he had ever made. Evan smiled. For the first time, he felt proud. Cloud with rain, the storm. 3 days before the festival, a violent storm struck Lumina. Lightning cracked the sky. Winds tore roofs. Rain flooded the streets. People rushed to save their lanterns, but many were destroyed or washed away. Evan held his lantern close, praying it wouldn't break. The next morning, the village looked devastated. Many lantern makers gave up. Their designs, their materials, their work, all gone. Evan walked to the village center and heard someone crying. It was a little girl named Mira, whose lantern had been destroyed. Evan knelt beside her. "You can build another one," he said gently. The girl shook her head. "I can't do it again. It took me so long. I'm not good at it." Evan smiled softly. "I broke 12 lanterns. 12. But I'm still here. You can start again and I will help you." Together, they rebuilt her lantern. It wasn't perfect, but it was sturdy and bright. Other villagers saw this and came for help. Evan helped them too, fixing frames, shaping glass, mixing colors. Slowly, hope returned to Lumina. People looked at Evan with new eyes. Not with doubt, but with respect. Trophy the festival day. Finally, the festival of lights arrived. Thousands of lanterns hung around the valley, glowing like stars brought down to earth. The judges walked around with golden ribbons, choosing the best lantern. When they reached Evan's lantern, they paused. It wasn't the brightest. It wasn't the most colorful, but it had something no other lantern had: strength, resilience, and a story of courage. The head judge said, "This lantern survived the storm." Another added, "And helped others shine." The chief stepped forward and raised his hand. The winner of this year's Golden Flame Award, the crowd held its breath, is Evan of Lumina. Cheers erupted. Children jumped. Adults clapped loudly. Evan stared in disbelief. He stepped forward, trembling, as the golden flame was placed in his hands. Master Rowan smiled proudly. "You earned it, not because your lantern was perfect, but because you were unbreakable." Glowing star the lesson. Later that night, Evan stood on a hill, looking at the glowing village below. He whispered to himself, "I didn't win because I never failed. I won because I never stopped." And that is the true message. You don't need to be perfect to begin. You don't need to be the best to try. Failure is not a full stop. It is a comma in your journey. What matters most is not speed, talent, or luck, but your courage to keep going even when everything falls apart. Evan's lantern became a symbol not of victory, but of perseverance. Because everyone who saw it remembered this truth. The world does not reward perfection. The world rewards those who rise again.